How's it, punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast. Feeling much better this week. I feel like a human again. I'm still sick, something completely unrelated. But we've got a lot to unpack this episode, Simon. Lots of interesting results over the weekend, lots of upcoming sports, some cool fixtures as well. A lot happening in the betting or casino world that we'll touch on as
Yeah,
well. But I think let's start with the Premier League. What a weekend of results! You liked Newcastle to bag a goal against Spurs. That one came in nicely.
yeah.
I liked Newcastle to lose to Spurs. I said it's time to start fading Newcastle. I was right on that, but I was wrong with Arsenal. Gosh, they got smashed 3-0 last night.
Yeah, so yeah, it was interesting. I mean, yeah, so I went 2 for 2 in the Premier League, which is a nice change. But yeah, speaking of those shocking results, I mean, obviously, I think the biggest talking point would be Brentford's
Yeah,
4-1 win over
4-1.
Chelsea.
What happened
Yeah,
there? I didn't catch the game. I think I was busy dying on the couch or something like that.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it was strange because I mean, Brentford just really made the most of what very little possession they had. Which was only 29% of the ball. They actually managed almost as many shots on goal as Chelsea. So I guess they just really, really capitalized on what little of the game they really had in their hands. But yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people sort of be talking about sort of the beginning of the end for Chelsea. I saw some news of the weekend that's apparently the Chicago Cubs owners, which is
yes.
the Ricketts family, they're the latest bidder for the club, and I think they're going to be meeting them quite soon. I think this week. But yeah, on the whole, Chelsea fans are actually very much against the Ricketts family buying the club because apparently they have a history of racism, against Muslim people, and so they are quite a controversial family. So they've been quite a lot of protests and people signing petitions to try and stop them from purchasing the club. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Yeah, I don't expect it's going to stop much. I mean, we had the Glazers come in as well. I think there were
Mm,
people weren't too happy about that. It's just, I think they're just unhappy with a lot of Americans moving into, these big
yeah,
kind of big businesses rather moving in rather than kind of owners. But yeah, so some interesting results. Then we had United drawing 1-1 with Leicester. I didn't like the price on United last week. I thought it
mm,
was a little bit crazy, and I kind of justified that. Even though my other picks weren't great, I had Chelsea to win and Arsenal to draw a win. But yeah,
yeah. I
then
mean, I ended up being a bit too conservative on my Palace bet. I mean, I suggested the double chance that I think about 1.78 or something, and it turns out even a -2 handicap would have been a winner there. So
yeah,
yeah, winning beating the Gunners 3-0, which you really don't see very often.
no, and it's opened up the race for the top four completely now. I mean,
It
gosh,
has, and Spurs and Arsenal have now swapped positions there. It's only on goal difference that Spurs are now ahead of Arsenal, but I think we're going to see that jostling for fourth place continue throughout the season, and I think it might even go down to the final week, hopefully. But I think it's going to be very, very tight there. For that fourth place, I think it's going to be a fight right to the end.
yeah, I'm not sure either of those teams really deserve to to be in the
Mm,
Champions League. But hey,
mm.
the fourth place does go to the playoffs and whatnot, and it's just how it works. But I just don't think they'll, I think the top three are just have a lot more quality than
Yeah, I agree.
anyone lower than that. But yeah, then we've got. Let's jump into some of the golf happening this weekend. We've got the Masters. I know you're very excited for that. I'm excited for that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I need to get a new DSTV subscription with those new changes that they made. Very very annoying. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Masters is always one of the most eagerly anticipated majors of the year. I mean, I suppose next to the British Open or the Open, as some people call it, is it's sort of the most prestigious trophy in golf. Um, what makes me quite excited about this Masters in particular is actually, I've talked a lot before about on the podcast when previewing golf tournaments how the PGA have had to kind of set up the courses to be more and more difficult because players are just hitting the ball huge distances, and they can actually take a lot of the hazards,
mm,
like bunkers and water, out of play by sort of taking shortcuts to the pin. And so they've really had to up their game to kind of keep these courses competitive. And I was pleased to see that they've extended Augusta. Obviously, you can only make a course so long, right? You have
yes.
so much space with which to work with. So it can be tricky, but they've extended Augusta to 7,510 yards, which is about 200 yards longer than it was last year, which will make quite a
Is
difference.
that 200 yards in total or?
Yes, in
Okay.
total, which would make it, it makes it a bit trickier for those long hitters. I mean, there are plenty of them, but like Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy and so on to kind of take those hazards out of play. So it's good to see that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I could talk an hour about just the Masters alone. I mean, there's so many kind of subplots and narratives in the lead up to this event. But I think just to put people in the picture from a betting perspective. I mean, if you follow any golf tipsters, you'll see that almost everyone and their dog is on Justin Thomas at odds of about 13-1, which he has really, really great stats. They've been rock solid of late. And he's actually paired up with Phil Mickelson's old caddy, Bones McKay, who is, I mean, he's an absolute stalwart, really, really good caddy. He's actually a very good commentator as well. You'll often hear him commentating, especially on the Masters. So he obviously won't be commentating this time around. But he's a very popular bet this week. And then Scotty Scheffler, he's the current world number one, and he's won 3 times in his last 5 starts. I mean,
Wow.
can you?
For a golfer,
That's just
yeah.
that's just yeah. I mean, that's a staggering statistic for any golf player. If you think there's on average 165 players in the field, to finish number one three times out of 5 tournaments, it's incredible. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of luck involved in that, of course. I mean, there's such fine margins in golf, but I mean, that's just incredible. I actually got him at the beginning of the season to win the Masters. I took a few golfers, I always do, for the Masters early on to see if I can find some value, and I got him at 45s,
Wow.
and
Okay.
he's actually sitting at 12-1 now. So I really, really hope he can convert that. That'll be amazing. I mean, looking further down the odds board, you have obviously players like Kupka and Morikawa, who are very, very good in the majors. Um, Tony Finau as well. He's just the forever bridesmaid. Never kind of gets over the line, but he's always competitive. Paul Casey as well. He's at 60-1. Also have the kind of experience and pedigree to pull it off. But I think one long shot pick which stands out for me is actually Adam Scott, and he's had quite a few top 10 finishes lately, and you can get him at about 60. And I really like him for a long shot. As I said, I've got a standing bet with Scotty Scheffler, but I definitely want to take one or two more players further down the odds board just for some fun on Sunday.
So who do you think's going to take it then?
I mean,
Who's your gut pick?
obviously, I mean, I really, really hope Scheffler does. It's difficult to take a player, I find, who's won a lot recently. I know that sounds completely contrary to, what you think about form and so on, but it just I had such a good feeling about him a while ago, and I'm glad that's come off. I mean, obviously, you back him now at 12-1. He was 45s when I took him, but yeah, I mean, I'm really, really hoping he can do it, and he has a very, very good chance. He's probably the most formed golfer at the moment. But I mean, Justin Thomas as well. I think that people are justified in thinking he's got a very, very good shot. I mean, you can't find many faults in his game. But I don't know. I've always found that, and maybe this is just being a bit skeptical, but I've always found that when tons of people are talking about a
Mm.
golfer, those sort of, especially the storyline of the new caddy and he's feeling better than he ever has, and it's a new year and this and that. I always find those storylines kind of just they never come to
Not
fruition.
going to make the
So
cut.
yeah, probably yeah, something drastic like that. So I'm wary of him. He is a solid player though. But yeah, I mean, obviously hope Scheffler can do it. But I mean, just one tip for listeners wanting to bet on the Masters. I mean, I'd highly recommend shopping around for the best odds always, but especially when betting on golf, because the difference in
Yeah,
odds
it can be massive. Yeah.
can be massive. I mean, it can be double sometimes. So really, find a golfer or two or three or five or however many you like, and just look around for the best odds, because you will find big discrepancies in the numbers. So
Yeah.
always shop around for
Often
it.
you'll find like on these kind of second tier sports books like Bet Exchange and those, you'll find some
Hmm.
really good odds. So it is definitely worth having a look around. That's
Absolutely.
another reason why it's good to have accounts at at multiple different bookies. But
Yeah, so I
yeah,
mean
go
that
ahead.
was a very, very quick and rambly preview, but obviously it's a lot to condense into a
Mm.
short little preview. But yeah, really looking forward to it, and yeah, I hope Scheffler can pull it off.
Right then, Simon, you wanted to chat about some tennis, the Miami Open.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we didn't preview this tournament, but I just thought it was fantastic watching the final on Sunday. And there's a bit of a storyline there around Carlos Alcaraz, and I just thought I'd just chat quickly about it. So the Miami Open is one of only two Masters 1000 tournaments. Now Masters 1000 tournaments come just underneath Grand Slams. That spans 2 weeks, so there are six in total, but two of them are 2 weeks long. So most tennis tournaments, start on a Monday or Tuesday and they finish on a Saturday or Sunday, depending between the men's and the ladies. But there's only two Masters 1000 tournaments which are 2 weeks long, and the Miami Open is one of them. So it is one of the bigger tournaments. And Carlos Alcaraz, who's 18 years old, he actually became the youngest winner in the history of the tournament, which is quite a big deal. And I've had my eye on him for a while. I looked today at the stats. Today, a year ago, he was 133rd in the world, which is just incredible. I mean, now he's number 11 after his win in Miami. And I honestly don't think we've seen a Spanish player with so much promise since Nadal. I'm really, really excited to see how his career progresses. He's kind of got the way he moves around the court is very Djokovic-esque. He has an even stronger forehand. Dare I say it? He kind of whips it around the court and creates these kind of impossible angles out of nothing. So yeah, just a player I really, really think that everyone should watch out for. I think we'll see him competing for titles all over the place, especially on the hardcore tournaments or at the hardcore tournaments, which definitely his most comfortable surface.
Okay, well, let's move over to some football action that's taking place. I mean, we've got the Champions League, which is tonight and tomorrow night. And we've got some interesting matches. We've got Benfica taking on Liverpool, City
Mm.
taking on Atletico. So we've got the mix between Spain, England, and one German side in there.
Yeah. I think I was just saying to you before the beginning of the podcast, Rob. I must say, I think for the first time in many years, we don't have any pretenders that have kind of snuck through. I think all eight teams that are in these quarterfinals are fully deserving of their place. So yeah, I'm really excited to see sort of which teams can kind of come through the home and away gauntlet to make it to the semis over the next 2 weeks. Because I think this really really does look like a good slate of Champions League quarterfinal games.
Yeah, it's the. I mean, it's. I think the sides that are going to progress, I can pick three of them. I think it's the Chelsea Madrid game that I'm not too sure on who's
That's what
progressing there.
agreed.
I'm sure Liverpool won't have a problem getting past Benfica,
Mm,
even away from home, and then obviously the second leg at home.
yeah,
City shouldn't have too much trouble with Atletico Madrid, depending on how tonight's game goes, because
yeah.
they're not easy to play in Spain. So I can see Madrid beating City in Spain, but I think it's going to come down to kind of goal difference, away goals, the aggregate.
Yeah.
So I expect City to score a couple tonight, to be honest. And it's against a very strong defensive Atletico Madrid side, but they're going to have to do. That's the approach they're going to have to take, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's look at Liverpool, Benfica first. I mean, Liverpool, obviously, I mean, they've barely stumbled the entire season. They're obviously playing their first match away. The only loss in 2022 came against Inter Milan, also in the Champions League. But I mean, they'd already won the first leg at home, so the stakes weren't nearly this high. So I expect Liverpool are going to take quite a sort of slow approach to this game, not take too many risks. First away leg. So I think a 1-0, 2-0 scoreline looks the likely result. And I actually think under 2.5 goals at 2.34 with G
Ooh.
bets looks a really really nice bet. I really do. I could easily see Liverpool, keeping a clean sheet, and I certainly don't think they're going to run away with this. So I must say, I really liked it. I was expecting it to be shaded slightly to the over, but not that much. So I must say, I really, really like that bet. I think a 1-0, 2-0 scoreline looks about the right pick there, or the right where the result will go at least.
And then with City and Atletico, both teams to score maybe the yes is 2.34. It's pretty high.
I must say this one, and I really don't say this very often, but I think there's a little bit of value in City at home there. I mean,
Yes,
I
definitely.
I do. I think I'm quite I'm a little bit flabbergasted about this one. I must say I was expecting closer to 1.2, 1.25 here. Um, you know, I I think a nice bet in this one would actually be to take City on the -1 Asian, which is much smaller than obviously taking them on the normal handicap, which is I think it's 1.98, but taking them on the -1 Asian handicap, which is 1.55. I think that's a nice bet to throw into an accumulator, maybe with Liverpool, something along those lines. But I must say, I think there's a little bit of value in City at home here. I was quite surprised when I saw those odds.
Yeah, I think City are going to win this match. I like the handicap there. I like the -1 is 1.92. I think they're going to win by at least two clear goals.
Mm,
I do like both teams to score as well. I think there could be goals in this one, but
yeah.
I'd rather lean towards the City handicap than go with both teams to score in this instance. It's going to be an interesting match though. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully these aren't dull ones. You know how they
Yeah,
can
that
be in
can
the
be.
Champions League first legs.
It can be. Yeah, and I think I mean Wednesday's fixture, as you mentioned. I mean, I think Real Madrid Chelsea. There's more sort of doubt around that, especially the overall result over two
Mm.
legs around on in that match. You know, Real Madrid is an absolute machine when it comes to the knockout stages of Champions League. I mean, their record when getting, I know it doesn't sound, that far, for such a good team to the quarterfinals, but they got such a good record as long as they get through those early stages, they tend to just roll on. And I must say, obviously, with all the darts around Chelsea at the moment, I think this
Yeah,
is a perfect time to back Real Madrid. To just go on and do what they usually do. And I think, though I say that, so I think the bookmakers have taken this into account because if you think Chelsea, obviously, reigning champions, 2.04 at home at Stamford Bridge against Real Madrid, who obviously a top side, but I mean they haven't been winning tournament after tournament recently. So I think it has been built into the odds. But that said, I still think that 3-1 on Real Madrid, I'll just take them straight on an outright win. Honestly,
yeah. Just because of the value, I find this game's definitely like a coin
yeah,
toss.
yeah. I think I'm not going to say that Real Madrid aren't getting enough respect necessarily. I think that Chelsea on any other without all the controversy that's been going on, will be closer to sort of 1.8. So I think that it has been built into the odds, but I still think 3-1 on Real Madrid is big enough for me. And I just think with all the nonsense going on at Chelsea at the moment, I just think it's a good time to get with Real Madrid, who always seem to just get through these stages and kind of get to the latter stages of the Champions League.
Yeah, I fancy that one as well. Then Simon, we've also got some Premier League coming up this week and this weekend. We've got Burnley taking on Everton. Everton going down to West Ham in their last outing. Newcastle taking on Wolves. I fancy Wolves for a result there. I fancy a draw there, to be honest. Everton versus Man United could be quite an interesting one. Surprisingly enough, Man United are 1.8 away from home to Everton.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of understandable, I guess. But this is probably one of those games United will just go and romp. But it's I guess that price looks about right. I mean, I must say that because because it's such a full podcast, I've only really looked much into the Liverpool
Champions.
City
Okay.
game.
Oh yes, the
Um,
big one on the weekend.
which is the big one on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, I think that one, look, it's these teams are so close on paper. I mean, Man City won't travel. They'll play at home, whereas Liverpool will travel to Portugal. That might be a small factor
Oh, hop, skip, and a
to
jump.
to take into account. Yeah, but I mean, I mean, 1 point separates the teams at the top of the table. There's just so little to separate the teams, on the pitch. I mean, like the outcome could sort of be determined by maybe some injury reports after the Champions League games. It's very hard to pick a winner here. I must say though, I think that Man City at even money will probably attract a lot of action. Um, it's probably a good move on behalf of the bookies, because especially because of the buzz around Liverpool. I think this will kind of help even out the action because I think that's sort of like the biting point is even money for Man City. So I think this match has been set like just right. But I don't really have a betting angle, I must say. I think the match odds look kind of spot on, and the total goals market shaded slightly to the over is kind of where I would put it to. So it's tricky. I don't know if you have any thoughts on
I,
the
I
betting
like
angle.
the draw here. I think the draw is pretty decent value. Just looking on
Hmm.
Betway 3.65. I think that's going to be the most likely outcome. Obviously, there's a lot that can happen in the Champions League, and there's a short turnaround.
Yeah.
So, but I feel that price on the draw is pretty generous, considering where these teams are. Yes, City should have the edge in this one, but then again, it's Liverpool. There's a lot to play for in this game. I think both teams are scared of losing this game.
Mm.
So I do fancy the draw here. I can't take a Liverpool double chance here. So I'm just going to go with the straight draw, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I must say I'm quite surprised. I had a feeling that you would be all over City at this price, and as I said, I don't think that it's the wrong price. I'm just, I think I see what the bookmakers are doing now. I think that putting Man City at evens is gonna, because Liverpool, look, they're both in fantastic form, but because there's more of a buzz around Liverpool, I just feel that giving Man City that slightly bigger price is
Mm.
going to even out the action they get on both sides. So yeah, this one is such a hard one to call, really. I think you're right with the draws probably the more likely result, but it's a very very tough one to bet for me.
Yeah, look, if you want to bet City, I think there's a great odds you're getting on City. I just can't, not against Liverpool. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so that's why I'm going with a draw. I just can't pick a winner.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think Liverpool are going to win, but I'm not sure if City can win either. So
Yeah.
so that just can those two cancel each other out and leaves me with the draw.
Right.
My other pick is Arsenal to beat Brighton. I think they'll bounce back quite nicely from that Crystal Palace loss. Even though they are kind of due a dip in form, I think this is one that they should pick up a win. And then
Mm.
we have Spurs are 2.19 against Aston Villa. That's also Spurs 2.19 away from home. The form Harry Kane's in at the moment, so I think that's not a bad punt to have.
Yeah. I mean, they are. I would say the second or third form team at the moment in the league. So that does seem a bit inflated. I must agree.
Right, Simon. Then I think we'll move from the Premier League over to some motor racing, some Formula One, where we've
Yeah.
got the Australian GP going on.
Yeah, I mean, we had a break last week, so back in action again with the Australian Grand Prix. This used to always be, I think I mentioned last week, always used to be the first Grand Prix of the season, but they've changed things around a bit now. Um, yeah, I mean, we saw for the last two races, in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, amazing wheel-to-wheel racing, especially between Verstappen and Ferrari, or Verstappen and Charles Leclerc of Ferrari. Verstappen obviously being of Red Bull. Um, the new regulations have made it easier to follow cars more closely, which I mentioned before, which has also allowed cars to overtake after being overtaken, which is really cool. So the cars have a better chance of
Mm,
attacking the car
fighting
in
back,
front
yeah.
of them and reclaiming their place, which is even more cool in my opinion, because it's all very well seeing two cars duel, then one of them gets in a DRS zone, and can pass the other car, but the fact then that it's not over, that on that same straight or maybe on the next corner the car can then attack again. It's just really exciting. So that's one thing I didn't really kind of anticipate. I knew that overtaking would be easier with the new regulations, but I didn't really expect to see a car overtaking and then being overtaken and then overtaking, getting their position back. So that's really really cool, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that over the season. But looking at the odds, I mean, it makes sense to me. Obviously, Verstappen won last week, but I think if you look at the setup at Melbourne, there are more straights than there were the last 2 weeks. So, you know, Verstappen or Red Bull is slightly quicker than Ferrari on the straights, and Ferrari are better on the cornering. So, with the sort of flat out speed being more important in Melbourne, arguably, I think that makes sense that Verstappen is a slight favorite over Leclerc here.
Hamilton
Yeah, and
down in the 14th. He's not even a fancy for the podium by the looks of it.
who's that, Rob?
Hamilton.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, we saw nothing from Mercedes last week to make us think that they're any closer to resolving their issues. I mean, it's the power unit, it's the porpoising. In fact, I mean, all the teams with Mercedes engines seem to be struggling. Most of all, McLaren, who have literally fallen off a cliff. I mean, they just look absolutely pathetic. It's just,
Caught flat foot, really.
yeah. I mean, like they absolutely, they look terrible. Shame. I feel so sorry for, um, especially Lando Norris. I mean, Ricardo's been around for a lot longer. But I mean, Lando Norris is just. I think he's a very, very promising driver, and to be in such a shitty car, it must really must really, really take the wind out of your sails.
Maybe you should jump into a trolley. I'm not sure if you saw that video of that gentleman hitching a ride on the back of an oil tanker. I think.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm gonna send it to you. It's this dude in a trolley going down the N1 on the back of an engine tanker. I don't know. Must be going like 120 or something.
Whoa.
Smiling and waving. So it kind of feels like that. Maybe they should get that gentleman to come and drive for them.
Wow, sure, that is brave. Yeah, so I look, as it's still very, very early days. I'll keep saying it. I mean, we got another 20 races to go, but at the moment, Mercedes they didn't look any better in that second race. They certainly have the same issues they've had, since preseason already. So yeah, I wouldn't be rushing to back Hamilton or Russell just yet. And I mean, look, generally speaking, like most weeks, it's hard to find a bet in the Formula One. I'd say, look, even though he was a bigger price in Bahrain, I still think Perez at 13-1 is value because he's really not that far off the pace of Max Verstappen, his teammate. So he could quite easily qualify in pole position, and then, as he has before. And then it would obviously make the job of winning a lot easier. So it's, I much prefer mid 18s that I got him, in Bahrain. But it's, I think if you're looking for a value there and a realistic chance of winning, it's got to be Sergio Perez at 13-1. But I mean, I think most people will either be backing Verstappen or Leclerc, and I mean, I can't put them off doing that either. So it's a tough betting perspective. But I'm just really looking forward to the race.
And if you're going to be taking a bet on the Formula One, then head over to Betway. They've got that F1 4 to flag promotion where you need to predict the winner, and you place a R100 bet on. You basically need to predict 1, 2, and 3, and the winning constructor, fastest lap, driver of the day. Put a R100 bet in, and you get entered into the draw. I've been taking my predictions on it. I've had some luck with some of these Betway competitions in the past, so I'm hoping I can win that F1 experience and that 30k in cash. But,
it's a really, really nice prize.
Then, Simon, we've got there's cricket. We spoke about it last week with Bangladesh versus South Africa. We said that price in South Africa was very generous, and it turned out to be very generous with them winning by 220 runs or around there.
Yeah, I'll make this very, very brief. There's not too much to talk about, but also there's no odds out yet. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought that South Africa would do a lot better, in the long format, and that proved to be correct. I mean, we had Dean Elgar was really solid in both innings with the bat, and Temba Bavuma as well, and then an absolutely stunning performance, by Keshav Maharaj, in Bangladesh's second innings, and he bowled with figures of 7 for 32.
Crazy.
Really incredible. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's actually he's played out of his socks. So yeah, I think that you're obviously going to probably see slightly shorter odds this time around, but I think we look pretty solid, and I'm imagining that we're going to go on and win the second test in Port Elizabeth too. But yeah, no odds yet, which I'm quite surprised with on Tuesday morning. It starts on Thursday at 10. So we're less than 48 hours away, and there's literally no odds. There's no odds anywhere.
It's the Betway Test Series.
Yeah,
and I'm on Betway, and I'm not seeing any odds. So
there's nothing, and you can look. Often if there's nothing on, on a bookmaker in South Africa, you'll find them on Odds Checker or in some Betway radar. Bet radar provided book, but unfortunately there's nothing available yet. But I'm looking forward to it, and I think South Africa look in a good place to go on and win the series.
I need to get my DSTV sorted out, as begrudgingly.
Yeah.
Anyway, but talking about other news, let's jump over to some of the casino games that Hollywood Bets have now released. There's a lot. There's 8 new Spinner Zonke games. We've got, I'm not going to mention all of them. We've got videos up on the channel, but they're pretty high quality games. Then there's also, I haven't counted them, but I'm going to say like 50 or so YGG Drazzle. I don't know why a company would call themselves YGG Drazzle. It's like some kind of pimp or something like that, like strolling around the hood with a whole lot of gold change with his name, like my name's YGG Drazzle. I don't know, like a rapper's name or something. Such a weird name. But so there's a lot of cool games out. You guys should go check them out. There's going to be a lot more coming. There's NetEnt, there's Red Tiger, and then there were also some other games released this morning that I did a video on, but they are very forgettable. It's the same games that are over on Superbets that.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, so these new YGG Drazzle games and Hollywood Bets have been available on Super Bets for quite a while. So if anyone's played their instant games or had a look through their instant games, they would have seen these games. So these are the same ones that you can play there. So yeah, very exciting. Nice to have a bigger range of options for punters at Hollywood Bets.
And I wonder how the punters are going to take to choosing new games, because we've had the spinners Zonke, and when I say spinners Zonke, I'm actually referring to the Habanero games, because we've had those for over a year now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the transition is going to be like. I mean, me personally, I like the Habanero games.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a easy thing for me to switch over to all
Yeah,
of these
and
new games.
the Habanero games also have, notoriously one of the highest RTP percentages. So they are technically, in the long run, easier to win than a lot of other slot games. So they do pay out regularly. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But I think quality-wise, the YGG Drazzle
Oh
games are
yes,
definitely, I mean, not if not in the same class, better.
no, they are better. Yeah.
So yeah, so I can't see any complaints from Hollywood Bets customers saying these games aren't in the same league or the same quality. I think it'll be just a matter of getting used to them and and giving them a bash before making the judgment.
I do find the Habanero games a lot easier to play. As the simplicity is there, which is what I like. Look,
Yeah.
there are some terrible Habanero games. Let's not kid ourselves. But I've been playing some of these YGG Drazzle games, and I feel like I need a degree in slots or something to understand some of them, because I honestly don't know what's going on. I mean, I've been playing. I've tried to record, but I don't know what's going on. So I've ended up with just cutting together a really long highlights reel of me hitting features in games and stuff that I'll post at some point. I still want to get some more kind of clips into that one. Should be really good, but it's basically just it's probably going to be like 15 minutes of features from various games. But yeah, so go check those out over on Hollywood Bets if you do
Yeah,
have
and
an account.
just before we finish, just speaking of features, I'm going to post an article on Betting Guide in the next couple of hours about Habanero games with where you can buy features, which I know Rob has actually covered in a YouTube video before. So if you want to check that out,
Yeah, there's three of them. It's
Betting,
Christmas Gift Rush, Return to the Future, and Orbs of Atlantis. I think those are
that's
those
right,
are the three. I wish they
absolutely.
had more, to be honest.
Yeah. So look, in the article, I'll talk about those games. It also mentioned obviously the pros and cons of buying features. What it even means to buy a feature, and of course, what are the benefits and what are some of the drawbacks of spending the money to buy a feature.
And you were also looking at the volatility of some of the Habanero games, not the RTP, which is Return to
Yes.
Player.
Right. Yeah. So the volatility is how much it pays and how often. Whereas RTP is a more of a long term thing. So a percentage of funds returned. But yeah, that's another article which has been posted on Betting Guide, which you can have a look at. You'll see that on the
Which
site.
were the least volatile games on Habanero? Was there anyone that stood out to you?
Well, so the only ones I was only writing about low volatility games.
Okay.
So there are quite a few there. So just have a look there. They're all listed, and they've got sort of little previews of the games and stats and so on.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, thanks for tuning into this episode. I don't have any best bets this week, to be honest. Nothing really stands out to me that I'm confident to give out as a tip. Maybe Spurs to beat Villa, I think, would probably be my biggest lean, just because of the odds and Spurs' form. What about your end, Simon?
Oh, it's got to be Real Madrid. 100%. Yeah, I think you can get Real Madrid on the double chance at 1.79 if you want to be quite conservative. But I think this is a good opportunity just to just back them outright, 3-1. So odds of 4.0 around there, even bigger if you look around perhaps. But I think Real Madrid are gonna kick Chelsea out of the Champions League.
The
Yeah.
Champions League. Okay, so
Yeah.
so
But
so
look, whether they kick them out or not, I think that you back them at nice odds away from home rather than if they win this one and then host Chelsea. So I just think this is a nice opportunity to get with Real Madrid at very nice odds.
all right, great. Very bold pick coming out there from Simon. We've both gone with some fairly picks that are well over even money. But guys, thanks for tuning to this episode. I will be streaming on Wednesday night. I hope. I'll see how I'm feeling. Otherwise, I'll have to do a dry stream without any alcohol, which is not a concern for me, obviously. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Best Sports Betting Podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.